For viewers in Nigeria, Africa and the rest of the world, this is News Central Television reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Sulaiman Aled, and here are the top stories of this hour. A wildfire that ravaged the Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa, has been brought under control. Gunmen have razed 2 police stations in southeastern Nigeria. Judicial workers in Nigeria protest for financial autonomy. Details of these and more after now. We begin in South Africa, where residents of a neighborhood on the slopes of Devil's Peak and Cape Town have been advised to stay out of their homes for the time being. The area of raze was evacuated earlier today on Monday after a fire ravaged the slopes of Devil's Peak near Table Mountain. More than 4,000 students from the University of Cape Town were evacuated from their residences on Sunday night as the fire spread. The fire that started on Sunday has also gutted the university's African Studies Library and damaged parts of the School of Humanities. I'm now joined by South African journalist and editor Candice Bailey. Good to see you again, Candice.
Good evening, Sulaiman.
Well, it's been 2 days to get this fire under control. Municipal officials say they've contained it, but it seems people are still being advised to stay away.
Indeed, Sulaiman. The fire has been contained, but it's still burning. And it seems that there's still a lot of soot, there's still a lot of heavy smoke in the area, and it means that it is dangerous for residents to go home. There's also a danger of the winds picking up again and causing the fire to go out of control. So it's better for them to stay out of their homes at this stage.
Well, Candice, you grew up in Cape Town. Is it unusual to have fires of this nature so close to the city centre?
Look, Sulaiman, it's not unusual for veld fires to break out on the slopes of the mountains that surround the central business district around Cape Town. I think what's unusual in this instance is the way that the fire has managed to spread quite significantly over a very short period of time. So in just 2 days, it's affected more than 5 suburbs. And even managed to get onto the campus at UCT. There was a veld fire last year. There was another fire in 2019. So residents in the area do know about the fires. They are aware of them. But I think that in this instance, it has been a bit of a fire that's managed to spread and endanger a lot more.
Well, we know that a number of students and families had to be evacuated. What relief are they getting at the moment?
So, in fact, there's been quite a lot of damage. Our Minister of Labour, Thulas Maisi, his house in Cape Town has burned down. We've also known that at least 3 family members of 3 other cabinet ministers have had to be evacuated from their homes. The students that have been evacuated from the residences at the University of Cape Town are being accommodated. They've been given meals, breakfast and dinner. And there's also been lots of offers of accommodation for them. There's also been lots of kind hearts, restaurants in the Cape Town area offering students to give them food. So there have been lots of donations. We also have relief organizations that have stepped to the fore, offering, food for the firefighters. There are more than 250 firefighters that are fighting this blaze, and they really are displaying heroic efforts to get this fire under control. So there's a lot of humanitarian efforts in the area to make sure that the fire is contained.
Another sore point is what we know of the University of Cape Town, which has suffered a significant damage. What do we know about what happened there and the university's response?
So at the moment, the university has said that they are still counting the damages of the fire. We do know that at least 2 residences have been damaged severely. We do know that the Jagger Library, parts of the Jagger Library have been extremely badly damaged, and particularly the reading room. The Jagger Library is renowned for hosting the African Studies collection. And that's quite a collection of work that dates back to 1500. So it's quite a rare selection of work, and there are lots of sad hearts. The Jagger Library has issued a statement saying that they're not sure what the extent of the damage is, and they'll have to wait until the building is safe to go into before they can make any further judgments. But it appears to be the reading room that is really badly affected at this stage.
Finally, we know that someone was arrested for starting the fire. What more can you tell us?
So at the moment, we know that it's a 30-year-old man. In fact, there are conflicting reports. Some say he's 30 and some say he's 35. So he's in his early 30s. We believe that he is a homeless man. He was one of 3 people that are believed to have started a fire on the lower slopes of Devil's Peak, and that he will be appearing in court soon. He'll be facing a charge of arson. But there are also some other questions about fire breaks and whether they have been in place and whether they were properly looked after, which has obviously resulted in the fire spreading as fast as it has.
Candice Burley, many thanks for unpacking this for us.
Thanks so much, Suleiman.
Well, in the meantime, South Africa's Commission of Inquiry into State Capture Commission has warned that it will not be intimidated by the tactics of those who are attempting to prevent it from carrying out its mandate. The Commission's chairman, Justice Raymond Zondo, at today's sitting cited 2 incidents in which a shot was fired through the window of one of the Commission's offices, while another office was burgled. Justice Zondo, who is the judge of South Africa's Constitutional Court, says that members and staff of the Commission are determined to ensure that the job gets done, regardless.
Days, 2 incidents have happened which are a cause of concern on the part of the Commission. During the week, I got a report that somebody apparently had fired a shot through the window of one of the offices of the Commission. It must have been in the evening, and a bullet was found in one of the offices of the Commission. Of course, over the weekend, there was a break-in at the offices of the Commission. The law enforcement agencies are investigating these matters. Don't know whether it's just ordinary criminality or whether it's much more than that. Of course, in the break-in, a computer and a monitor were stolen. But I just want to say that if anybody is trying to intimidate the Commission into not doing its job properly, they must know that.
In West Africa, gunmen have razed 2 police stations in 2 states in southeastern Nigeria. Social media reports say 3 officers were killed and inmates released following an attack on Zone 13 police station at Upo in the southeastern state of Anambra. Another report says a divisional police station was razed at Uzuakwali Divisional Police Station in Bende local government area of Abia State. Suspects were also freed in Abia just before the attackers set fire to the station. Eyewitnesses said the incident happened around 2 in the morning. In Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, lawyers from the Ikeja branch have embarked on a peaceful protest to the government house. The protest by the lawyers was in solidarity with the striking judiciary workers who have downed tools across the country since April 5, over the lack of financial autonomy for the state's judiciaries. The lawyers also joined several other members of the Nigeria Bar Association's branches in the country to visit governors in their respective states to press home for the union's demands as directed by the president of the Bar Association, Olumide Akpata.
The judicial arm of government in the most populous African country might face a serious challenge if its financial autonomy is not implemented soon. The Nigeria Bar Association on Monday carried out its threat by joining the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria protest, calling for the implementation of financial autonomy for the arm of government. The Judicial Union had on April 6 commenced a nationwide industrial action calling for the implementation of financial autonomy for the judiciary. The NBA Keja led a peaceful protest in the Nigeria's commercial capital, showing solidarity with the Judicial Union.
We called upon the governors to address the issue of the financial autonomy based on JUSUN demand on Thursday when we were meant to meet with the National Executive of JUSUN. Unfortunately, we were made to understand the meeting didn't hold for whatever reason. What we are saying to the public is, this time is not a time to pay lip service to financial autonomy of the judiciary. Democracy had run from 1999 to 2021. If for nothing, we've run democracy for 23 years, and we're still grumbling with the simple principle of separation of powers.
Stakeholders are afraid that the Judicial Union strike could cause apprehension, prison riots in correctional centers if not quickly addressed.
Well, you know that it's for 2 weeks now that JUSUN has been on strike. And of course, there are so many persons that were in detention centers of the security agencies and some in the correctional centers who were supposed to be taken to court. And naturally, those bailable offenses will be granted bail. But unfortunately, the court is on strike now, because of JUSUN strike. So it's affecting those number of persons.
Meanwhile, a planned peaceful protest scheduled for Monday, April 19th by the Judicial Staff Union of Nigeria was today shelved due to a planned meeting with the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, slated for Tuesday, April 20th.
Still in Nigeria, the United Nations has suspended humanitarian operations in Dikwa and Damasak towns in Borno State, Nigeria's northeast region, after recent attacks by suspected members of Boko Haram. UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator Edward Calon announced the suspension, saying the actions were taken to safely relocate humanitarian staff. Mr. Calon said the UN intends to resume operations as soon as possible so that civilians affected by the conflict are assisted. The UN asked that the attack, which has continued, that the attack would affect support to about 9,000 internally displaced persons and 76,000 people in the host community receiving humanitarian assistance and protection. In Nigeria's commercial city of Lagos, commuting around will witness some slowing down as professional e-hailing drivers and private owners association have engaged on a strike action that began today. Correspondent Mary Chinda brings us details of Lagos City today without e-hailing drivers.
Our fare right now is not actually commensurate with our earnings. When things in the markets have actually skyrocketed, and the price of fuel, for example, is on the high side, yet our service is still devalued. Like the price is not commensurate. We have our cars are worth 3 million and above. How will we be using the car to commute, our car to commute 300 naira passengers inside traffic, Lagos traffic that we are all aware of? So the fare right now is not commensurate with our earnings. A driver that's actually rendered more than 700 trips in Lagos just because of mere customer disputes, no fair hearings. You deactivated the driver, you blocked them with their cars. This is not a plug down time. How do you want them to go back to the business? How do you want them to survive their family? If something happened and the driver didn't get to his or her destination, how will you track such rider that has actually treated the same way? So if there is a proper profiling, there is a way to identify a rider. If something happened eventually, unforeseen circumstances that they will be able.
We'll hope to bring you details of that in our other bulletins, but now the Chadian army says it has killed more than 300 rebels in the northern part of the Central African country. The military, in a statement, said the rebels were from the Front for Change and Concord in Chad. The statement said the slain terrorists include 3 senior rebel officials, while 150 were taken prisoners. The army said 5 of its soldiers were killed during the operation, while 36 were wounded. Items recovered from the rebels include 26 vehicles, including 16 equipped with heavy weapons. Coming up, presidents of Somalia and DR Congo hold bilateral talks in Kinshasa. Details of the story and more when we return. Stay with us. If you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching the News Central News Now. Now, residents in Nigeria's Delta region have complained about their well-being and threats to their livelihood by oil exploration activities in the region. The area, which is home to some of the world's biggest deposits of oil, still suffers from underdevelopment, youth unemployment, and poverty. Earlier, I spoke to security consultant and ex-agitator Boylof Ebikaboe on Village Square, Africa.
Activities of the Niger Delta ex-agitated militant is to show the sign of failure in the part of this administration. The peace that was inherited from the previous government, the peace that was inherited from the previous government could not be sustained and maintained as it was meant to be. All the apparatus put in place to maintain peace in the Niger Delta has been wrongly managed.
For more on that exclusive interview with the former Niger Delta ex-agitator, you can get to catch up on that on the News Central YouTube channel. Now, Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo is in the Democratic Republic of Congo at the invitation of his counterpart Felix Tshisekedi, the current chairperson of the African Union. Local media says Farmajo arrived in DR Congo's capital, Kinshasa, for a 2-day official visit and will hold talks with Mr. Tshisekedi. The Farmajo's trip is aimed at strengthening bilateral and diplomatic relations, discussing security on the continent, as well as the eradication of violent extremism. Now, in the meantime, the Somali National Army and forces of the African Union mission have arrested several Al-Shabaab fighters in a joint operation in southern Somalia. The mission on Monday said its Burundian contingent based at Gololi joined the operation, flushing out militants hiding in the Sega forest. Now, the AU mission said the operation was aimed at ensuring free movement of Somali people on the main supply route of Mogadishu-Jowar. AU troops have been conducting regular patrols and escorting vehicles carrying humanitarian relief aid and participated in combat operations against Al-Shabaab to secure the main supply routes. Now, in southern Africa, the UN Refugee Agency says urgent help is needed in Mozambique as separated families fleeing violence in the northern region are supporting each other. UNHCR said on Monday that nearly 700,000 people, mainly women, children and the elderly, are internally displaced in northern Mozambique as a result of recurring attacks and violence by non-state armed groups since October of 2017. The agency warned that this number could cross the million mark by June this year if the ongoing violence does not stop. UNHCR said it was putting in place measures to receive more arrivals in the coming days, and staff are reaching areas outside Pemba to assist newly displaced people. Now to our continued coverage of the coronavirus pandemic across Africa. The Democratic Republic of Congo has begun its COVID-19 vaccination campaign today. The country had postponed the exercise last month over fears regarding the safety and efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The Central African country received its first doses of AstraZeneca on March 3 and has now reassured the public that the doses are safe for use. It said priority will be given to health personnel, people who suffer from chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and basic social personnel. Now, South Sudan is looking to dispose of 60,000 expired doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine as the rollout of the drugs is hampered by skepticism among the population. The Health Ministry officials said on Monday that the doses in question were donated last month. Now, Incident Manager at the Health Ministry, Richard Laku, said they have been locked somewhere to be dealt with as soon as possible. Laku said the Health Ministry and Drug Authority are now engaging with the African Union and the team to dispose of the doses. Now, the number of coronavirus-related deaths in Kenya has surpassed the 2,500 mark on Monday, which is today, as the country continues to battle a third wave of the virus. The Ministry of Health announced 20 new deaths recorded in the past 24 hours, bringing the country's total number of fatalities to 2,501. The East African nation also recorded 241 new positive cases, raising the number of confirmed COVID-19 infections to more than 1,151. Now, Kenya's death toll is also the 8th highest recorded on the continent. Now, Guinea has received a shipment of 300,000 Sinovac COVID-19 vaccines purchased from China and is also set to receive a donation of 200,000 Sinopharm shots. Now, Guinean Foreign Minister Ibrahim Khalil Kabe, who disclosed this, gave no further details on the Sinopharm donation. Guinea is reporting 93 new coronavirus infections on average each day, 59% of the peak in March. There have been 21,460 infections and 138 coronavirus-related deaths reported in the country since the pandemic began. The president of Madagascar, Andry Rajoelina, has announced on Monday that the island nation would seek to acquire the Chinese-manufactured Sinopharm vaccine and 3 other vaccines from its planned mass COVID-19 vaccination drive. The president noted that the vaccination drive will initially prioritize healthcare workers and the elderly. The other 3 are the single-shot vaccine manufactured by Johnson & Johnson, the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, and AstraZeneca's Covishield vaccine. Madagascar officially joined the World Health Organization's COVAX program on April 1 in a move to procure COVID-19 vaccines for its population. Still to come, the United Nations is calling on Asian leaders to find a lasting solution to the crisis in Myanmar. Join us again. Well, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on Asian leaders to bolster efforts to finding a peaceful solution to the urgent crisis in Myanmar, sparked by the military coup in February. Now, at a Security Council meeting on Monday, Mr. Guterres highlighted the relationship with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, underlining the bloc's important role in diplomacy, conflict prevention, and peace building. He urged regional actors to leverage their influence to prevent further deterioration and ultimately find a peaceful way out of this catastrophe.
Today, ASEAN's role is more crucial than ever as the region faces an urgent crisis in Myanmar. I've repeatedly called on the international community to work collectively and through bilateral channels to help bring an end to the violence and repression by the military. United Nations cooperation with ASEAN in this regard is vital. The situation requires a robust international response grounded on a unified regional effort. I urge regional actors to leverage their influence to prevent further deterioration and ultimately find a peaceful way out of this catastrophe.
Both the United Nations and its regional partners now have a fleeting window to cooperate through strong action to halt the ongoing atrocities in Myanmar and prevent the further escalation of violence. I condemn the brutal use of lethal forces against civilians and the detention of State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi and the President Win Mint, as well as thousands of protesters. The worsening situation in Myanmar represents a pivotal moment to showcase the utility of cooperation between the UN and its regional partners in maintaining peace and security and saving human lives.
Now, America's space agency has successfully flown a small helicopter on Mars. The drone, called Ingenuity, was airborne for less than a minute, but NASA is celebrating what represents the first powered, controlled flight by an aircraft on another world. Now, the rotorcraft was carried to Mars in the belly of NASA's Perseverance rover, which touched down in JUSUN crater on the red planet in February. Confirmation came via a satellite at Mars, which relayed the chopper's data back to Earth. The space agency is promising more adventurous flights in the days ahead. Ingenuity will be commanded to fly higher and further as engineers seek to test the limits of the technology.
We've been talking so long about our Wright brothers moment on Mars, and here it is. And this project has had many friends who contributed to tonight's success. I see many in the room, the team in the room, the team on WebEx, team members who couldn't join us, and a few of our friends who are no longer with us. They're still in our minds today. And Perseverance rover, the best host little Ingenuity could ever prepare.
Well, a great achievement there by the NASA team. Now, an illegal workshop where weapons are produced using a 3D printer has been dismantled following a raid by the Spanish police. 2 3D printers, along with gun parts, a replica assault rifle, 2 tasers and a machete, were among items found in the search in Santa Cruz de Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Police say they also found manuals on terrorism and urban guerrilla warfare, as well as white supremacist material. And officials say it is the first of such a workshop to be discovered in Spain. The alleged owner of the workshop has been charged with illegal possession of weapons and explosives. China's Shifeng Geelong Gold Mining Company has cancelled an agreement to buy the Bibiani gold mine in Ghana, saying it had not received timely information from the seller about the termination of the mining lease. The cancellation comes after Australia-based Resolute Mining agreed to sell Bibiani to Shifeng Geelong for around $105 million in December, only to announce last month its lease had been terminated by the Ghanaian government. That when the lease was restored last week, it comes under terms that did not recognize the sale. The deal would have marked Shifeng Geelong's second overseas acquisition after it brought a 90% stake in the Sepon Gold and Copper Mine in Laos in 2018. The chairman of United Nigeria Airlines, DR Congo, says a scarcity of foreign exchange is one of the challenges being faced by airlines in the country. Congo lamented how 2 weeks ago the Central Bank of Nigeria did not approve the application for US dollars to airlines because of the scarcity of foreign exchange. He attributed the high increase in the cost of aviation fuel to the sharp rise in the cost of air tickets.
Airlines are finding it difficult to access forex, which has caused the increase in airfares. The truth is, the aviation industry is a dollar sector. Most of the activities and operations are dollar-based, from navigational fares to leases to aircraft spares and fuel and all we got. So everything is based on foreign exchange. So the inability to access it is a major problem for their operations. And bear in mind that dollar rates is increasing by the day, and their operations. The only thing that airlines do that is naira denominated is sale of tickets. Every other thing is in dollars. So when they have naira and they want to access forex, it's even more difficult with the growing rates of dollar, these days. So it is actually impeding on their operations, which is very, very there, and it's going to stifle operations in the future. The navigational charges, fueling and other agency charges, they're all in dollars. So most of the operations in the aviation sector are made in forex and made in dollars. So it's not just spare parts. So that sector is dollar-based. So most of the operation is dollar-based, which is why forex is really needed for them to be able to carry out their daily operations.
The Kenyan High Court has granted conservatory orders stopping the Kenya Revenue Authority from collecting minimum taxes pending the hearing and determination of petitions against the tax. Justice George Odunga urged the tax agency to hold its horses for the time being as this court navigates through the labyrinth of the respective contentions made by the parties herein. The court order further requires that the National Assembly, the Commissioner General of the KRA and the Attorney General to respond to within 7 days. The court will meet on May 19 to further deliberate on the matter. Up next, Jose Mourinho is sacked again, this time from Tottenham Hotspur. Join us again.
Moving on to our sports stories, we begin with basketball, where Philadelphia 76ers Joel Embiid's off-the-court work has been recognized. The league has announced that Embiid has won the March NBA Cares Community Assist Award, and this is in response to the Cameroonian's donation of a $100,000 All-Star Game check to help get food and clothing for the homeless in Philadelphia. His donation will provide 15,000 meals, 4,000 essential clothing items, and medical treatment for 1,000 people. A great one for Joel Embiid. And moving over to powerlifting, Uganda's powerlifting champion Roy Mubiru has won gold at the APA World Qualifiers in Connecticut, United States of America. Mubiru competed in age group class 40 to 44 years and weight category of 125 to 130 kilograms after putting on more 3 kilograms to his usual 125 kilograms. The Ugandan managed to lift a total of 1,828 kilograms in 3 styles: the squat, bench press, and deadlift. The American Powerlifting Championships were run in multiple locations simultaneously due to varying states' travel restrictions and COVID policy differences in the United States. Moving on from there, in football, Johnny McKinstry has agreed to end his contract as manager of Uganda's national team after 18 months in charge. The Federation of Uganda Football Associations thanked the Northern Irishman and his staff for their work and dedication to developing the Uganda Cranes during their tenure. The news of McKinstry's departure follows the 35-year-old being asked to step aside from coaching Uganda at the start of March. Under McKinstry's guidance, Uganda enjoyed a 67% win rate from his 18 games in charge, 12 wins, 3 draws, and only 3 defeats. He also led Uganda to victory in the regional 2019 CECAFA Challenge Cup, where the Cranes won all their matches for only the second time in their history. Moving over to the sports now, still on football, Jose Mourinho has left his position as head coach of Tottenham. And Mourinho had been in charge of Spurs since November 2019 after replacing Mauricio Pochettino and signing a deal until the end of the 2023 season. In his first campaign, Mourinho took Tottenham Hotspur from 14th in the Premier League to finish 6th, securing Europa League qualification. And Spurs are currently 7th on the table, 5 points off the Champions League places. And in Manchester City, of course, the midfielder Kevin De Bruyne will miss Wednesday's Premier League game with Aston Villa as the club determines the severity of an injury to his right foot and ankle. Now, the Belgian went off in the 48th minute of Saturday's 1-0 FA Cup semi-final defeat by Chelsea at Wembley. Now, the club said the extent of the problem is not yet known, but he will continue to be reviewed. And Premier League leaders Manchester City have 3 games in the next 9 days. The Carabao Cup final against Tottenham Hotspur follows on Sunday, and the first leg of the Champions League semi-final with Paris Saint-Germain is on Wednesday, the 28th of April. And in the English Premier League, currently Liverpool and Leeds United finished that game with a 1-0 draw, and I'm sure Jurgen Klopp will not be happy with that result, but it was a good result for Leeds United and their manager, Marcelo Bielsa. And that wraps up Sports Update on News Central. Now, I am Udoka Njoko.
Udoka, now in entertainment tonight, we have a story from the Gold Coast, where music albums are expected to drop between this quarter and the next. And final goodbyes to Kaz's late fiancé. Details of these and more, over to you, Sam Dandy.
Well, thank you very much. Now, welcome to the entertainment news. My name is Sam Dandy. Now, we begin in South Africa in the midst of what has been a sad couple of days since the passing of Tembe, the fiancé of award-winning South African rapper Kiernan Forbes, popularly known as AKA. Ms. Tembe jumped from the 10th floor of the Pepper Club Hotel in Cape Town on Sunday morning. Following the devastating incident, close friends and family gathered at Durban International Conference Center on Friday to pay their final respect to the 22-year-old. The families put out a statement requesting to be given privacy in the time of grief. During the virtual funeral, her father, Mr. Tembe, thanked everyone for their unconditional love as he reflected over his daughter's life. He further added that no one would have associated her with taking her own life. Mr. Tembe then stated that his daughter was not suicidal, but rather her death was as a result of alcohol and drug abuse. He concluded that he knew and approved her relationship with AKA and knew he loved her. AKA and Aneli became public knowledge in January 2020 after paparazzi caught them intimate in a restaurant. Now in Nigeria, there's great news for Burna Boy fans, as the Grammy Award-winning artist has hinted that he would release a new album in August 2021. Via his Twitter account, a fan asked Burna Boy, "Are we having an album this year?" And he then responded, "Same time as last year, no worry." If you recall, Burna Boy's Twice as Tall album was released on August 12, 2020, and it won a Grammy earlier this year. What many find interesting is that he deleted the tweet. Well, whether or not we get an album, we will keep you updated in the following weeks. Still on album teasers and release dates, our very own Olamide, CEO of YBNL Records, announced that he is set to release another album. He took to social media to share the album will be titled UI Scooty, and it will be released on June 14, 2021. This makes it just 8 months after the release of Olamide's 11th studio album, Carpe Diem, which dropped on October 8, 2020. Carpe Diem, meaning seize the moment, gave the fans 12 tracks, some of which are still major hits, like Loading featuring Bad Boy Tim's, Infinity featuring Omale, and Triumphant featuring Bella Shmurda. And finally, to the Gold Coast, one of Ghana's most celebrated artists, Stonebwoy, hit a milestone in becoming the first Ghanaian artist to immerse 1 million views on YouTube in 24 hours. It's a big deal, as the last record was in 3 days. The new song, Blessing, was released on the 16th, and it features Vic Mensa. Now, currently, the song has 1.5 million views, and we'll be watching to see the progress over the next few days. And that's entertainment. My name is Sam Dandy.
Thanks, Sammy. Now, the wildfires in Cape Town, South Africa, have fanned strong winds In some parts of the country, buildings have been damaged since the blaze began at the weekend. Weather experts are, however, optimistic that winds will ease over the next couple of days. For more on the weather, let's go to our meteorological desk. And that's all on the news headers are, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. A wildfire that ravaged the Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa, has been brought under control. Gunmen have razed 2 police stations in 2 states in southeastern Nigeria. And finally, we told you that judicial workers in Nigeria have protested across the country today to press home their fight for financial autonomy by the judiciary. Follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also catch up with our news and programs. Just download the News Central TV mobile app on Play Store and iOS. You can also watch us live on Star Times, channel 274. I'm Sulaiman. Many thanks for watching.